morning, fifth graders! Today I am here to say, may the 4th be with you. May the 4th. Now, I'm also here to share with you a couple of books that I think you might find interesting. One has something to do with Star Wars, The Strange Case of Origami Yoda. Now, the really, really cool thing about this book is it has the directions to make origami Yoda in the back. This book is about two fifth graders. Actually, they just got into sixth grade. Two sixth graders who they're trying to figure out sixth grade. The author is Tom Engelberger, and he also wrote Darth Paper and Fortune Wookie. It's a whole series. And the boys, Dwight and Tommy, are trying to figure out, is Origami Yoda's advice real? Should they take it? That is what they are trying to figure out. And all throughout the book, different people, different characters write each chapter, so you have a different point of view, and Origami Yoda gives them advice. It's a really cute book. It's a good book. I just thought I would suggest it to you so I could say May the 4th be with you, because that's the whole reason. The other book I want to talk to you about is The Apothecary by Maile Malloy, and I like this book for several reasons. One reason is historical fiction, but another reason it is fantasy. And what happens is the main character, Janie, her parents, they live in California. She's alive at the end of World War II, and she's still living in LA, and her parents and all of their friends are script writers for movies and television shows. And it talks about what happens. It starts off with what happens the first day that she feels like she's being watched. Then there was the day when I had the watch feeling and looked back and saw a black sedan cruising more slowly than the rest of the traffic. I could have sworn it was driving at exactly at the same speed I was walking. I sped up, thinking that Kate Hepburn wouldn't be afraid. She was a famous movie star. And the car seemed to speed up too, so panic rose in my chest. I turned down an alley and the car didn't follow, so I hurried along past the trash cans, and when I got out on Selma Avenue, there was a man outside a house pruning his roses, but no cars. My heart was pounding. I made myself breathe slowly. I nodded to the man with roses and kept walking down Selma. I told myself it was silly to be afraid, that nothing was out there. No one was following me. There was no reason to follow me. And I tossed my hair back and wishing it was more glossy and curvy. And then the black sedan came around the corner ahead and cruised slowly towards me, and I felt a cold flush of ice, like ice water was going into my veins. I looked back at the Rose Man, but he'd gone inside. I gripped my books to keep my hands from shaking, and I kept walking as the black car drove towards me, ridiculously slow. As it passed, I kept my chin very high and slid a glance sideways. In the car were two men in dark suits. The one closest to me in the passenger seat had hair so short he looked like a soldier, and he was watching me. There were two dark-brimmed hats on the back seat. I didn't know which man wore the hat. I kept walking, and I turned on my own street, and I thought I was out of sight, and I ran to my house, and I fumbled for my keys. My parents were at work and wouldn't be home yet. I dropped the key and picked it up off the sidewalk as the black sedan turned onto Vista, my street. Then I got inside and slammed the door. "Hello!" I called to the empty house just in case, but no one answered. I dropped my books and ran to the back door, which led out to the patio. I made sure the door was locked. Sometimes we're careless and we don't lock all the doors. And it was locked. I looked out the front window and saw the sedan parked by the curb at the end of the block waiting, and I closed the curtains and turned on the lights in the kitchen, and my hands were shaking. And the kitchen was the room where I felt the safest, because it was where I sat every night with my parents doing homework while they cooked and talked. I told myself it was fine. It was probably all in my mind. It was my my imagination taking over. I made myself a peanut butter and honey sandwich and started my algebra homework. Each problem was like a puzzle, and it helped take my mind off the men who might or might not be on my street looking for me. At 6 o'clock, I was deep in the hunt for the value of X, when I heard the door open and hit the end of the chain hard, and my heart started to race again. I managed to pretend that the men weren't really after me, but they were breaking in. "What is this?" a man's angry voice said. Then I realized that the voice that was annoyed, not angry, was my father. "Janie, are you here? What's going on?" So what is going on? Was somebody following her? And she tells her parents about it. We walked that night to Musso and Frank's, which was my favorite restaurant, but it didn't feel like a treat. My parents tried to pretend everything was just fine, but we took back alleys and they watched the corners at every street. And my father walked so fast that my mother and I had to walk double time just to keep up. We took a booth and I ordered the thin pancakes called flannel cakes for dinner. I wanted my parents to object and make me order chicken and vegetables. I wanted things to be normal, but they didn't even notice. "So, who are the men in the car?" I asked. My mother sighed. "They're U.S. Marshals," she said, "from Washington, the government." "Well, that didn't make any sense. What do they want?" "We've been wanting to tell you, Janie," she said. She always got right to the point, but now she was dancing around whatever she was trying to say. "We have news. We think it's good news. We're thinking about moving to London." I stared at her. "It'll be an adventure," she said. I looked at my father. "What did you do?" I asked. "Nothing," he said too loudly. And a woman at another table looked at us. "Davis," my mother said. "But I haven't done anything," he said. "This is all so ridiculous." What is going to happen next? Had her father done something? Why were the U.S. Marshals coming? They were moving to London. What was going to happen? What does the Cold War have to do with this? If you are interested in any, and you probably know that the apothecary is a place where people used to go to get potions and mixtures as medicine before we had pharmacies. If you are interested in the beginning of this book, I can guarantee you'll be interested in the entire book. The Apothecary by Maylie Malloy. And I hope you enjoyed our book talk today. We will have another one next week. I hope everybody is doing well. I miss y'all, and I hope to see you soon.